Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back, or welcome to another Bangs Audio review. Nice deep breath, a little break from doom scrolling. Give my 16-year-old Gen X teen angst a break, although he has been able to stretch his legs pretty well for the past few weeks. Even he needs a break from time to time. So, let's all take a deep breath, relax, and talk about the Inawaken Dawn MS. Yes. When I started trying to assess this set about a week ago, I was coming down with something not good. It totally messed with my ears, and it was really weird because it was like from one day to the next, because I'd finished with the Tangzu Yu Xuan Ji, which I liked a lot. I mean, really a lot. And then the next day, I try to give it a day, and reset. And the next day, I put these in, and I was like, oh my god, harsh. Like, they sounded really, really, like, unlistenable, So I was like, that doesn't seem like anything that I've heard about these. But, I'm stubborn, so I pushed forward, tried to, go through some test tracks, whatever. And finally, I was like ready to just trash them, to just be like, oh my god, this is horrible. But I stopped myself, because sometimes I can do that. And I was like, okay, something's not right here. So first I tried over-ear headphones, the Philips Fidelio X3 and the FIO FT1, and those sounded like shit. Then I tried the Shanling ME600, which I know don't sound like shit, and they sounded like shit. Like, I know all of those sets don't. They're some of my favorites. Like, maybe not the Fidelio, but it's still good. Everything sounded off. My right ear, which is still a tiny little bit congested, was completely plugged, and my left ear was super treble sensitive. As you can imagine, that made for a piss poor listening experience to anything. So yeah, I realized that I was coming down with something, and there was no way to actually give the Dawn MS any sort of real assessment. So I put it down and just waited for the thing to run its course. And I still don't know what it was, if it was a sinus infection, head cold, both, I don't know. Anyway, I'm on the mend. I started feeling better Friday. By Saturday, I was able to listen to the Dawn MS as it should have been listened to start with. So, good lesson for me. Knee-jerk reaction. If something sounds off, it might not be the set, it might be you. And in this case, it was me, right? All right. Anyway, so moving forward from there, I was able to give them a solid Sunday, Monday, couple 2.5 days. Let's say 2.5 days of good listening time with my ears working properly. And they were just a lot better than I was initially experiencing. We'll just put it that way. Far as your specs go, you have, this is the diaphragm everybody's been talking about, I guess. It's the sputter deposition purple gold diaphragm, 11.2 millimeter. I guess everybody knows about this except for me. Well, these have been out since October, so that, could be also why. But apparently this is new driver technology, and from what I can tell, wow, even their graph kind of looks like my graph. That's always a good sign. It's a good driver. It's definitely, definitely a good driver, definitely. 110 decibels on sensitivity, 32 ohms on the resistance. They are not terribly hard to drive. However, with the slightly higher impedance, I would recommend some power. Just, I always do. Anyway, I'm a fan of the DAC amp. Even dongles, desktops, whatever. If you've got access to something other than, your standard Apple dongle, I would recommend using it for these. They seem to open up a bit with a bit more power behind them. And your cable, which you will see, is a standard 4-core silver-plated copper, 3.5, 2-pin 0.78. In the video I just recorded, I didn't even bother to pull the IMs out of the case, which I will do now because I didn't go over build, fit, or anything like that. But what you will see here is that this is the IVIPQ cable that I love so much, the blue one. It really matches nicely with the faceplate of the IMs. So 4.4 termination, which is my preference. It's a flush 2-pin connection, and I did utilize the Pennon liqueur tips, black ones, obviously, for most of the listening on these, although they did well with Divinous Velvet, they did well with TRNT, they did well with a plethora of ear tips. I stuck with normal bore, not wide, not narrow. Primarily normal bore seemed to be the best pairing with this particular set. On the build, it is, it's a resin. It's got a nice faceplate. It's sort of it's really pretty if you get some light on it. See if I can bring it up to the camera a little bit. Purples and blues and that silver border. Yeah, I would imagine each one's probably slightly different, a little unique, but excellent. Really nice looking IMs for a $50 price point. I mean, it's not the most important thing. I realize that, but having something that's really nice to look at is, it helps. And this one is for sure. As far as fit goes, no problem. The shells are medium in size. There's only that single 11.2 millimeter driver in there, so don't have to have a lot of room for stuff. Venting is good. There's no pressure buildup that, other than the fact that I probably had a sinus infection, no pressure buildup that I was experiencing with these. They were comfortable for long listening sessions, a couple 3 hours when I was able to squeeze that in. Yeah, really, really nice build. They don't feel expensive. They feel like they're $50 IMs, but they are finished nicely and they are comfortable. And that's really what you're looking for at $50 anyway. At least what I'm looking for. Yeah, I don't know. Do I prefer metal? Probably. But then again, I am a metalhead, so I guess that makes sense. Yes. So, what else do you get? You get this case. And the case is solid. It's rubbery. Felt on the inside, of course. Or, I should say nylon. Nice to have a case of this quality, I think, at $50. It's certainly going to keep them from getting crushed. If it's not waterproof, I don't really care. I'm not going swimming with them, at least not on purpose. Nice zipper. Yeah, it's a nice case. I mean, some IMs at $50 don't come with a case. IM set here with a nice plastic cover over them that you can replace. It's got one of those, sort of always sticky paperwork there. Case was in here. I'll bring out the cable. Cable was underneath the IMs and that little jobby right there. It's a nice unbox. It's $50. What do you don't expect a ton. A series of ear tips, which were okay. I always use my own because that's what I do. But silicone, normal bore, nice little blue stem. Yeah, they're nice. They're fine. And then your cable is basic, 2-pin .78 on the connection, 3.5 on the termination. The first cable I used on these was actually from the BQ EYZ Wind. That cable is shot. That cable is trash. Because as soon as I put the IVIPQ cable on both of these sets, the Topaz and the Dawn, it was apparent that cable has died. So stock cable you'll be fine with. I don't know what happened to that Wind cable, or not Wind, the Topaz cable, but it's shot. It's in the trash. So glad I figured that out, because again they started to sound like crap and I was like, what the hell is going on? Anyway, my little experiences aside, I would say, as far as your unbox, accessories, cable, build, fit, finish, all of that good stuff, at $50, I'm completely and totally satisfied with that aspect of things. Now, onto the sound. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? As I said, I was sick. And so when I first listened to these, I was troubled, to say the least. Um, but you gotta know if it's you or if it's the IMs. In this case, it was me. So here's the graph. Channel matching is excellent. Sub bass is all there. Mid bass, enough for me. Maybe not enough for total bass heads, but still a nice amount of mid bass. Mids are not recessed. They're clean. They're natural. They're enjoyable. Ear gain seems a little bit steep. If this were a lesser driver, this would be harsh. It is not a lesser driver. It is an excellent driver, and so this ear gain is pretty freaking spot on. And then your lower treble extends nicely into the mid. The mid treble does come off. It dips down at sibilance, and that's fine. Then it stays kind of right there in the same energy, up to about 12K. And then the air region is, it drops off. And this is I really like the balance of in the tuning of this. I think that they tuned it to the driver, and that's one of my favorite things to say these days is tuned to the driver, not to the target. They tuned this to the driver. They tuned it to what they knew the driver was going to be the best at. And I love that about it. I think that I wish more places would be more aware of that, maybe they are, I don't know, or maybe they're trying too hard sometimes. I don't know. But Inawaken did tune this to the driver's capabilities, in my opinion. Single dynamic drivers, sorry, a little stuffed up still, are under $100, maybe under 75. They're not going to present sparkle and air in a super natural or pleasant way. So with this set, they know the limitations and they just dropped it off. So again, if you're a fan of the air region, these are not super airy. They have a little sparkle to them, but not really any air to speak of. I don't miss it. I'm fine with that. I would say most people will be fine with the lack of this. The only thing it probably does is it's not the most immersive soundstage. It's not, super deep or super wide or super high, but it's there. It still has a nice amount of soundstage. It's just not going to be super micro detail oriented or super immersive. But that's okay because it's $50 freaking dollars. Right? I'll compare it to the other sets in the price range and a couple that are slightly more expensive, so you get a feel for how I'm ranking these. I think that the balance of the set is one of the nicest parts of it. It is an easy listening set. Maybe if you've got a little sensitivity in 1 to 3K, possibly might find that fatiguing, but like I said, what the driver quality is, whatever that sputter deposition thing that they're talking about, I don't know, because I'm not that technical. Total harmonic distortion on these is almost non-existent from what I can tell. I did not experience fatigue at all once I wasn't sick anymore. So I'm saying balance, I'm saying accuracy, proper, like not maybe monitor, like like level, like what do you call it, not studio monitor level, but like it has that balance between being clinical and being fun. It really has that nice balance there, in addition to obviously being very well balanced in its tuning. Yeah, that ear gain, lower treble, upper mids just peaks out about 1.5 decibels above where the sub bass peaks out. So they're balanced. They sound great. I mean, they really do. They're a long listening session. They're a daily driver kind of set, in my opinion. They picked up some micro details. I had to sort of listen a little bit harder for certain things, especially in the treble, like cymbal strikes and decay and stuff like that. Wasn't as present as in some other sets, in particular in the Tangzu U. But that's a style preference. It's not a qualitative issue. It's just a style. It's a tuning difference. Speaking of which, let's get into some comps here, because I know y'all wanted me to comp them. with a couple of different sets. I have the Confined Clean graph handy here. Let me take one of these guys out. Here we go. All right, so the Confined Clean, as you can see, is a much bassier, much warmer, like fuller, especially in the low mids, but does not have the ear gain energy and the treble energy, really, especially in the lower treble, that the Dawn has. This would be a set for treble sensitive people. I think I might have mentioned that when I reviewed the Confined Clean. It doesn't have the definition, it doesn't have the energy that the Dawn has. But if you're treble sensitive and you like a pretty serious amount of bass, the Confined Clean, really nice. I don't have the Delcy graph. I wish I did. I could not find it. It's another one that disappeared, which is probably why I still haven't done a squig, because shit keeps disappearing on me. But I will say that the Delcy is tuned a little bit closer to the Dawn, so between those two, I'm going. The Delcy is $25 more expensive, but I'm going with the Delcy and the Dawn over the Confined Clean for those reasons. Just, they're better balanced sets. They have more treble energy, more ear gain energy than the Confined Clean does. It's not a bad set. I still like the Clean a lot, but maybe a little too easy. Maybe a little too soft in treble for a lot of people. And then the U, we'll bring that graph up here because that's fun. You can see that the U has a little bit more mid bass, a little bit more mid presence, little more ear gain energy, and then of course the mountaintop here between 7 and 9K, which some people are not going to be able to tolerate. To me, it was fine. It gave more soundstage, more micro detail, more definition, just a more technically higher technical performance than the Dawn. But again, I'm not going to say it's better. I'm just going to say that that's the difference. That's the difference between, a 90 plus peak around 7 to 9K and one that's more in the mid 80s, right? So this is a style preference. And I understand that some of y'all are not going to dig the spike that the U Xuan G has. I get that. To me, it was fine. Because again, driver quality, excellent on the U. But I think a lot of people, I think probably the majority of people, are going to prefer the tuning of the Dawn MS. I can see that. Especially if you're looking at a daily driver. Daily driver, I mean, this is smooth. This is like, I consider the Delcy as being one of the smoothest IEMs, single dynamic driver under $100, that I've experienced, and I think that the Dawn MS at least approaches, if not surpasses, but at least approaches the Delcy in that sense. And it's 50% or $25 less, right? 33% less. So yeah, I mean, it compares very favorably to the Delcy for me. I think if you have the Delcy, the Dawn MS is probably redundant. I think that if you didn't want to spend the $75 on the Delcy, that you could save your $25 and buy the Dawn MS and be just fine. That's where that's at as far as comps go. EW300, you're looking at more bass, especially with those gold nozzles installed. Not quite as much on the treble energy or smoothness, both actually. So I'm probably taking the Dawn over the EW300 at this point, and I really like the EW300 a lot from SimGot. I like that one a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's a $50 banger. It gets a highly recommended from me. I feel like that whatever technology that they've got going with this purple gold sputter deposition thingamajig that they're talking about, I guess I'll have to read up on that. Yeah, they did a great job. I was looking all over the place for another Inawaken set, and I couldn't find one. So if y'all know of something, please let me know. I want to see what else these folks can do. Like, I'm really, really impressed with what they've done with a $50 IM. I think it was released in October of last year. I get that it's not a 2025 set, but me hearing it in 2025, this seems like it seems like a step forward to me in the $50 price range, like a full step forward. So it's definitely getting my full recommendation. And I would even say that up to $75. I don't know if you can do a heck of a lot better, especially in the single dynamic driver configuration. Tuned to the driver, not to the target. That's the key. If you start with a good driver, which they did, and you tune it to the driver, which they did, nothing but good things are going to happen. Nothing but good things happen with this set. It's really quite pleasant. So, yes, Inawaken Dawn MS. Please, Inawaken, come out with more stuff. I want to try more of your IAMs after I've tried this one. I hope you've got more stuff coming in 2025, and I hope that you continue on this path, because if this is your first one, you hit it out of the park. Really nice job. Really nice. That is going to do it for today. Folks, please be careful, be safe, and be nice. Okay? Always remember that we are all human beings. We have love in our hearts. We have kindness to give. We have understanding. We all have it in us. Regardless of whatever shit. I'm dragging around a ton of shit in my life. Regardless of that. Always remember we're all people. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. Love you all. Nothing but peace to you. And we'll see you real soon.